ॐ
आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रम् अतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ओम शांति 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 अनंत गुणपूर्णत्वाद् अगम्याय सुरैरपि सर्वेश्च दात्रे देवानां नमो नारायणाय ते. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening for the part 14 of Talavakara Upanishad, also known as Keno Upanishad. I hope you're all having a wonderful Navaratri celebrations with family and friends. So before we get started, let's think about the Rishi for this Upanishad, Chaturmukha Brahma, Sadashiva, Parvati, Talavakara Rishi, and Acharyas, all the Acharyas who have given us the commentary on this Upanishad. The Devata is Vishnu Namaka Paramatma, who also goes with names such as Hrishikesha, Kapila, Aniruddha, and Gayatri, which is specifically comes to our contemplation when we think about this Upanishad. The Chandas, Trishtub, Anushtub, Jagati, those are the three primary Chandas that we have seen so far. Okay. So after giving due respects to Rishi, Devata, and Chandas, and the Abhimani Devatas of the Chandas, let's move on to the Upanishad proper today. We are doing second Kanda, as you know, Dvitiya Kandaha, and hopefully, we will complete the second Kanda today. Okay. So what did we do last time? Yadi manyase suvedeti dahramevapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu atanu mimamsyam evate manye viditam. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha यो नस्तद्वेद वेद यो नस्तद्वेद तद्वेद nona vedeti vedacha. So those are the two verses we did. The first one is in Shatpadi Jagati and the second verse is in Anushtu. Okay, so we got three more verses to go. Let's see how today. I'm hoping we'll complete this. So what have we been talking about so far? Including the first kanda and the first couple of verses of the second kanda, we've been talking about this infinitude of Brahman. That's what we have been thinking about as to why this Brahman is so remote. Why is it that we can't grasp him at this point of time? And when we had this long discussions over several weeks, the key point as to why he is so remote to us, yeah, is because of his infinitude. He is infinite. And we have looked at this aspect or the philosophy of how to understand the infinitude of Brahman with respect to Deshataha Aparichinnatvam, Kalataha Aparichinnatvam, and Gunataha Aparichinnatvam. So infinite in space, infinite in time, and infinite in non-material, auspicious attributes. So that's what defines the infinitude of Brahman. So the first two verses then, summarize these ideas for that, isn't it? That Brahman, who is Vishnu himself, Brahma Shabdashta Vishnaveva, that Vishnu cannot be known completely because he is infinite. That Vishnu is not unknowable because Vishnu is knowable through the scriptures. Chaturmukha, Mukhya Prana, the Riju category of souls, know Brahman better than all the jivas. So these are the three key ideas that we learned in the first two verses. So I'm going to open up today for us to think about what is the state of Lakshmi's knowledge then. Because so far these two verses we have only been talking about either Brahman or the other jivas, Chaturmukha, Mukhya Prana. They are all souls like us, however exalted they are souls and they are currently in this samsara. Yeah. So we have understood those three aspects. So what I want to do is just go straight into an interactive discussion is what is the state of Lakshmi's knowledge then as per our Vedas? How does Sri Tattva fall into this aspect of knowledge of Brahman? So who wants to take that up? No problem. So we'll have to go to Pramana Lakshana for this, isn't it?
So
Sorry, go for it, Nitaji. Yeah, share your thoughts.
she's much Lakshmi ji is much higher than all the jivas, but still she doesn't know Paramatma fully. That is the thing. So, but much higher than all the jivas, and she's the closest to him. She knows him a lot. So, but not fully.
Thank you very much, Nitaji. Yes, so if we think about, sorry, do
Can
we have
I
any other colleague? Yes, yeah.
can I
Yeah,
try,
I was
Mother,
Yeah,
by what
Sheilaji,
you
go
have
for it.
said? Yeah. Because I think in the beginning you said this creation was created from his one fourth part of him, the supreme Brahman. So only she will know about this side, I feel, the one fourth part. Because what is more than that, he has to permit her to. Even this, he has to grace her to know all this, even though she's his own Shakti. I think that's how much she knows about, because she comes from Swabhava, isn't it? She's his Shakti, Yogamaya Shakti, but in creation she starts as Swabhavas, isn't it? Shri Bhu Durga or
Yeah.
three Swabhavas.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sheilaji. Thanks for that contribution and thanks to Nitaji. Is it?
Namaskar, Masterji.
Yeah.
I was just thinking in Deshatakaha and Kalataha, she's equal to Narayana, but in Guna, she's less. The Lord has infinite and has got lesser gunas than Lord Narayana.
Thank you, Pratibhaji. So all three got various aspects of this contemplation about Lakshmi Jnanam, very interesting perspective. So if you look at Pramana Lakshanam, what did it say? Kevalam Chaturvidam. There are 4 types of knowledge. Ishe, Jivebhyo. So what are all the knowledges? Isha, Lakshmi, Yogi, Ayogi. 4 types of knowledges has been, that is the knowledge itself has been classified. Purvadvayam Anadi Nityam. The first two, that is Vishnu and Lakshmi's knowledge, is Anadi and Nityam. Okay. Beginningless and eternal. Yeah. Swatantriyabhyam tad visheshaha. Swatantriya Paratantriyabhyam tad visheshaha. The only difference between Vishnu and Lakshmi is Vishnu's knowledge is independent. Lakshmi's knowledge is dependent on Vishnu. Okay. Purvam, that is Vishnu's knowledge, Swa Paragata Akila Vishesha Vishayam. So Vishnu's knowledge is infinite range of everything about himself and all the universe, all the jivas, everything he knows about Lakshmi, Mukhya Prana, Chaturmukha Brahman, all the jivas, what are all the things that we are doing simultaneously, past, present, and future. He knows this, okay, spontaneously, effortlessly. He knows that. Dvitiyam, that is Lakshmi's jnana age, is Dvitiyam, Ishe Anyebhyo Adhikam. So, as Neetaji said, the knowledge of Lakshmi about Chaturmukha, all the Rijus and all the souls and the material world, okay, is higher than all other categories below her. Okay. Asarvatrikam. Here is the Anyatra Sarvam. Anyatra Sarva Vishayam. So this is important. Yeah, I want you to focus on Anyatra Sarva Vishayam. And then for Rijus, Anyatra Alochane Sarva Vishayam. So there is this slight differences. That is the greatness of Acharya as to how he has classified that. Anyatra Sarva Vishayam for Lakshmi. That is Lakshmi's knowledge of all the souls in creation. And all the material world, all the matter that is out there, her knowledge, she has the highest, okay, but still less than Vishnu. How is it less than Vishnu is the interesting bit. Spashtatvena Bedaha. It is about the clarity. There is a difference in clarity. Vishnu's clarity of knowledge is infinitely clear. Lakshmi's is less than that. That clarity of knowledge. Think about the clarity of knowledge. And the popular example that is given is the luminosity of the sun and the luminosity of the lamp. They both are luminous. There is no darkness in it. But there is a difference. The luminosity of the sun is different from the luminosity of the deepa. Okay, so that is the subtle difference. Spashtatvena bedaha. Whereas Chaturmukhas is what? Ishe Jivebhyo Adhikam. Among all the souls, he has got the highest. Anyatra Alochane Sarva Vishayam is very interesting. For Vishnu and Lakshmi, it is Anyatra Sarva Vishayam. They have spontaneously, effortlessly knowledge of everything about the universe. They are omniscience from that perspective. Whereas for Chaturmukha Brahma, Anyatra, there is this word called Alochane. Alochane means they have to think. If they think what is there in the Andromeda galaxy, then they get the knowledge of that. Okay, so that is the difference and clarity. So, thank you very much to Neeta ji and Sheila ji and Pradipa ji for contributing to that. So, the state of Lakshmi's knowledge we should never forget here, because without Chaturmukha and Lakshmi's grace, we can never reach Paramatma. Okay, so we need to have that knowledge about Lakshmi Tattva or Shri Tattva as well. And of course, the fifth point there is Brahman alone knows about him fully. Okay, and he is infinite and he alone knows about him fully is the final solution there. So 5 points for us to think about the first two verses that we have been thinking about. So then, of course, the question is, we were also talking about, is that contemplation of Brahman then feasible? Because he is so remote and he is so far away from us. So what did this verse say? Na aham manye suvedeti yona vedeti vedacha yonas tadveda nona vedeti vedacha. This is what we did last week. Yeah, so we did this particular verse about the contemplation of Brahman. Yeah, so what does that mean? This is the new verse for us today. Yasya amatam tasya matam. Matam yasya naveda saha. Avijnatam vijanatam vijnatam avijanatam. So this is the third verse for today. Yeah, so just bear with me for a minute. There is some IT issues here. Okay, thank you. So the contemplation. So the previous verse we said that Suveda and Aveda. Suveda means knowing something completely. Aveda means unknowable. So we had the discussion about whether Brahman is Suveda or Aveda. We understood that Brahman can never be Suveda, in the sense that from our perspective, we can never know this Brahman completely. Jnana, we can never get that Jnana of Brahman completely. It is not that Brahman is unknowable, because as per our capacity, we can know him through our scriptures. So it is na Aveda, it is na Suveda. So that is the key ideas of Brahman that we need to understand. None of us can know about him fully. That is a statement of fact, not just in our Vedic philosophy, but of all the world's philosophy. That is how Brahman or Supreme Lord is approached, that we cannot know him fully, but he is not unknowable. So what Chaturmukha Brahma now does is, he expands this idea over the next 3 verses. He expands this and then makes it crystal clear for us to understand this Brahma Tattva. So let's see how we run through these verses over the next hour or so. So what did Chaturmukha say next? Yasya amatam tasya matam. Matam yasya naveda saha. So we got to split it open as we do it. So there are 2 aspects to it that Chaturmukha is doing. This is a beautiful way of explaining how remote this Brahman is. Yeah, it's a very poetic and very beautiful way in which the Vedas capture this Brahman. As how? Yasya amatam tasya matam. Okay. Matam means what? Matam means manana. Okay. So remember that word. Matam means manana. Manana means that we can ruminate and contemplate. Okay. So here Chaturmukha is doing contradictions. He is using 2 words. They are very contradictory, but he is conveying a message between these 2 contradictory sets of words. Yasya amatam tasya matam. Matam yasya naveda saha. So let's look at the second one first. Matam yasya na veda saha. Na veda saha means what? They don't know anything, including their foolishness. Who are those people? Those people who think that they have done manana on Brahman. Those who think that they have actually done a complete inquiry and complete manana on Brahman. Okay? So those who think that they have fully reflected upon Brahman, okay, so those chaps who think that way, Chaturmukha says they don't know anything Sadashiva, including their foolishness. Okay? Matam yasya na vedasaha. But yasya amatam tasya matam. So this is interesting. Okay. So tasya matam means what? They have inquired or they have reflected well on Brahman. Who are those individuals who have reflected well on Brahman? The ones who does not think that he has made a complete inquiry, or the one who thinks that they are incapable of fully reflecting upon Brahman. Okay, so when we do manana and when we think about it, this is how Chaturmukha is telling. So you have to think like this, like that you have to understand. It's all about understanding our limitations as finite, subatomic souls with a quanta of consciousness, with a quanta of knowledge. Compared to the infinite Brahman, we cannot think about him fully. So he who thinks like that, that he is amatam. Amatam means what? Amatam completely. He is not an object for our complete contemplation. He who does manana like that, he has actually reflected well on Brahman. On the other hand, if there is some fellow who says that I have reflected upon Brahman fully, then that fellow actually does not know anything, is how Chaturmukha Brahma censures in this verse. Yasya amatam tasya matam matam yasya naveda saha avijnatam vijanatam vijnatam avijanatam in Anushtup Chandas. Okay, so this verse is also an Anushtup Chandas. So we have to think about, contemplate Rohini, Chandra's consort, who is the Abhimani Devata of Anushtup Chandas. So basically, it's all about humility. Okay, it's all about humility when you approach Brahman. Okay, yeah. So not like Hiranyakashipu. So yesterday we were talking about Hiranyakashipu. What did Hiranyakashipu say in his Mad Anyaha Kaha Ishwaraha? Yeah. Who else can be apart from me, the Ishvara? I am Brahman. Who else can be? That is exactly what is cited in Bhagavatam. Mad anyaha kaha. Mad anyaha Ishvaraha kaha. That was the reason for his downfall. He thought himself to be Brahman, and then Narasimha came and gave him the right lesson. Okay. So we just can't do that for various reasons about our own finitude and his infinitude. And there should be that humility in worship. And if we don't have that humility in worship, Chaturmukha actually says those guys are fools. Okay. And what I wanted to do is just we do have these various examples in our Upanishads of these amazing, wonderful rishis who exhibit these kind of humility. Okay, so one I found really, really striking humility is of the Pippalada Rishi, the Pippalada Rishi of Shatprashna Upanishad. So as you know, the 6 rishis, they go and meet Pippalada and they want to ask him some amazing, deep philosophical questions. Yeah. What did Pippalada say? He said, okay guys, welcome to my hermitage. Why don't you hang out for a year? Test me out and see whether I am worthy of being your guru. That is what Pippalada said. Test me out over the next 1 year if I am worthy of being your guru. Yedi vijñāsyāmaha sarvam havo vakshāma iti. If you think I know something, I will reply, and also whatever little I know, I will explain to you. This is what the great Pippalada Rishi also says. Yedi vijñāsyāmaha sarvam havo Vakshyama iti. Whatever question you ask, if I know, I will answer. Yeah. If I don't know, I will say I don't know. Yeah, I'll try and answer. So this kind of humility in knowledge is very, very important, as we saw last week. Vidya dadati vinayam. With knowledge should come humility, not ego. So only after reflection and inquiry we get knowledge. Yeah, we get firmed up knowledge. So there is no doubt about it, right? Only after reflection and inquiry we get knowledge. Now again, our Chaturmukha Brahma hits this very, very, very strongly, and this is a very famous verse of Kena Upanishad. Yeah, you might have heard this before. It's a very, very Beautiful words, a very famous verse. And again, Chaturmukha says, Avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. So in the previous line, he said, Yasya amatam tasya matam, matam yasya navedasaha. Here he says, Avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. So let's kind of think about this a bit more. It's very interesting. So it's all about jnana and vijnana. So as our gurus teach us in the second line, there's a lot of V's that comes about. Vijnatam, vijnatam, vijanatam, avijanatam. So lots of V's coming up. Okay, so it's all about jnana and vijnana. So if even our general knowledge, jnana per se means general knowledge, and vijnana means special knowledge, right? Even that is actually limited for us. Okay, we may have to contemplate the general knowledge and the special knowledge of Brahman as per our capacity, but there also there is a lot of limitations. We have done chapter 7, and I think we had 3 parts of chapter 7. So who is going to take up 7 2 and recite that important verse about this jnana and vijnana? Who wants to take this up?
I can say.
Yeah, go for it, Panagaji. Yeah.
Gnanam teham savignanam idam vakshyamyasheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat gnātavyam avashishyate.
Thank you very much, Panagaji. So there are limitations to that, but of course Krishna says that now I'll explain to you in detail jnana and vijnana, and GVG and team took us through this chapter very beautifully, if you can recall, I think a month or so ago. Okay, so let's think about what is going on here. What is it that Chaturmukha Brahma is actually instructing Sadashiva here? Avijnatam vijanatam. Vijanatam means what? Vijanatam means have a complete understanding of the special knowledge of Brahman. Okay. To those who think they have both the general and special knowledge of Brahman completely, they actually do not know anything. Avijnatam. They are avijnatam, who thinks that they know everything about Brahman. They've got the special and general and special knowledge of Brahman. Particularly vijanatam, there means special knowledge. So avijnatam vijanatam, any person who thinks himself that he is knowledgeable about Brahman, actually avijnatam. Okay. Vijnatam avijanatam. Okay. Chaturmukha says, to those who think they do not know Brahman completely, Brahman is known to them. Okay, so this is the beauty of this. Is lots of playing with words to convey a message, a convey of message of how remote that Brahman is. Yeah. So avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. So the later part is very important for us at satsangis. Avijnatam vijanatam. We actually do not know him. We may be doing all sorts of theories over several years, but actually we do not know him. Avijnatam. So if we have that understanding that we actually do not know him, then we are the real, we know. So we know something about that Brahman. And those individuals will call you are knowledgeable, man. You are knowledgeable. Vijnatam, avijanatam. Okay. Of course, Acharya gives a beautiful ideas and he's given us a reference from Garuda Purana, right? Natad idrugyati gneyam navachyam nacha tarkyate pashyanto api na pashyanti mero rupam vipashtitaha. You can go to the Himalayas and you can see the Himalayas, and all that you can say is I have seen the Himalayas, but we do not know the Himalayas fully. We have not looked at individual grains of the Himalayas and understood it. We are not able to hug that Himalayas completely and appreciate and understand it. We can only know a part of it. So that is how we need to grasp this Brahman. And in Kena Upanishad Bhashya, Srimad Acharya very categorically instructs us, Sakalyena Agneyasyapi Brahmano Jiva Yogyata Anusarena Nyeyatva Katanam. We can know this Brahman. We cannot know him Sakalyena. Sakalya means completely. Sakalyena Agneyasyapi Brahmano. First point we have to understand. Next is Jiva Yogyata Anusarena. As per the capacity of the Jivas, Nyayatva katanam, this Brahman can be known. Na ativedyo na cha avedyaha tasmat sa parameshwaraha is the statement from Acharya. Na ativedyo na cha avedyaha. He is not unknowable. You cannot know him beyond your capacity. Period. You can know him through the Shastras. Okay. There is a beautiful Arabian proverb. Okay. I don't know where it's inspired from, but I would like to think that possibly it is inspired by Keno Upanishad, Avijnatam Vijanatam, Vijnatam Avijanatam. So this proverb goes like this: He who knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool, shun him. He who knows not and knows that he knows not is a student, teach him. He who knows and knows not that he knows is asleep, wake him. He who knows and knows that he knows not is wise, follow him. So beautiful sets of verses there, very similar to what our Upanishads say. Yasya amatam tasya matam, matam yasya naveda saha, avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. Okay. So then the question is, and Chaturmukha has said so much about all this, right? About, you can't know him, you can't grasp him, he is not Suveda, he is not Aveda, he is Amatam, he is Avijnatam, and all those, negative ways of his, he's given us in a very, very negative perspective for us if you think the language that way. So then the question is, when do we actually get to know him? At least a little bit about that Brahman. Okay. As we said, at this point of time, everything seems to be a theoretical knowledge for us. We've been here doing this satsang for about 5 years, and we might have grasped some theoretical knowledge of Brahman, but it is still nevertheless a theoretical knowledge. So the question here is, when do we actually get to know that Brahman? Who wants to take that up? And we've discussed this a million times, but this is what the next verse is all about. So when do we actually get to know Brahman? Anybody wants to share their thoughts here, please?
When he graces us his grace, otherwise how will we know? I know it's his grace that we are doing all these lessons, but to know him, he has to bestow the grace. Yeah.
Absolutely, he has to. Thank you, Shilaji. Agreed with you completely. Anybody else? And bestow the grace to reach what point? You have to reach a point, right? He has to grace, and then we reach a point, then we know him. What is that point called? Who wants to answer that question?
Aparoksha Gnana.
Thank you, Padmajaji. Neeta Shushrut?
Same answer.
Same answer.
Okay, thank you. Excellent answer. So we need grace for Aparoksha Jnana. Yeah, that is what the next verse is. So Chaturmukha says all this theoretical knowledge, there is limitation made, but you will get the knowledge of Brahman. When? Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amrutam. Very conciliatory, very, very positive way. He now moves very positive. He is taught us about our limitations. Chaturmukha talking about his limitations. What about us? Yeah. So he, after giving our limitations, then he is giving us hope. But you will get that knowledge of Brahman when pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amrutam. So this is 33 syllables. Our gurus teach us this is in Buri Kanishtu. So again, Rohini, Chandra's consort, needs to be contemplated here as the Abhimani Devata of this particular Chandas. Pratibodha Viditam opens up in 4 different ways. Okay, so we will run through the 4 different ways in which the very word Pratibodha is an important word in Shastra. So let's understand what Pratibodha is. Pratibodha Viditam Matam. So Matam is easy. Matam means manana. Okay, manana, contemplation, and by implication Shravana and Dhyana. So these are all, three go together, right? Atmava are drashtavyaha shrotavyo mantavyo nitidhyasitavya. That mantavya is matam. Okay, so by implication we should also include Shravana and Dhyana there. Okay, Pratibodha Viditam, Brahman is known as per our capacity, which we have discussed again and again and again. Yeah, so that is fine. So we have understood that idea. That Pratibodha Viditam means after you have done the theoretical bits, at some point you will have gained the knowledge of Brahman as per your capacity. Okay. What is it that we can or should know about Brahman as a bare minimum for the best of the jivas with a human body to attain liberation? So let's assume that is you and me in this satsang. So we are the best of jivas currently in a human body to attain liberation. So the question there is, what is it that we should know about this Brahman? It is all well and said, know this Brahman as per your capacity. So what on earth should I know about this? Okay, we had some discussions about this. I think Srikanji spoke about this when we were doing the Gita Chintana a couple of weeks ago. Okay, Veda Vyasa in Brahma Sutra gives a clear equation here for us. Check this particular sutra out, 3332. Aniyamaha Om Aniyamaha Sarvesham Avirodash Chabda Anumanabhyam Om. So if you look at the detailed discussions of that, for souls currently in a sadhana sharira like a human body, there are minimum of 4 requirements. This is the minimum 4 that is required for our contemplation. Okay? And what is it that we will know about Brahman, the highest among jivas? Forget about Chaturmukha Brahma. His contemplation is in a different league. For us, we should know at least 4. Sat, Chit, Ananda, Atma. So those are the 4 words. So again, a take-home message for today's satsang for us and for the rest of our life is, we may not know about everything about Brahman, but at least if we can contemplate, he is Satchitananda Atma, he is Satchitananda Atma, then we stand a chance. So let's think about the Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Sat, what does Sat mean in this equation for Brahman's 4 knowledge that we need to know? What is Sat? Who wants to tell us what is Sat? So Sat means Nirdushta, without any defects. Okay, he is without any defects, and by implication he is full of infinite auspicious attributes. He is Chit, he is of infinite knowledge. Ananda, he is infinite Ananda, blissfulness, infinitely blissful. Atma there means my Swami, my controller. He is my controller, and this controller is of the nature of no defects, infinite auspicious attributes with infinite knowledge and infinite blissfulness. So who is our controller as our Antaryamin? So if we can do this contemplation, then at some point we will reach our quanta of Satchitananda, whatever that quanta is as per our capacity. We will have our own fruition of our own self-realization. So that exactly is moksha, right? Is actually we have our self-realization, understand who we are, we experience our own Satchitananda in the companionship of Brahman, and we get a knowledge of Brahman as per our capacity. That is a clear definition of moksha or liberation in the Vedic language, in the Vedic Shastra, in the Vedas. So, Pratibodha Viditam. So, if you look at the context of what Chaturmukha is teaching Sadashiva, he says, Matam Viditam Pratibodha. So, Chaturmukha is saying, Matam Viditam, by constant contemplation, I understood Brahman. Pratibodha Sadashiva, you too make such an effort and understand Brahman. Pratibodha Satsangis, we all make such an effort and understand Brahman, is what Chaturmukha Brahma is telling. By constant contemplation, as this Brahmana Satchitananda Atma, if we make that kind of a effort, we can also understand this Brahman. Matam Viditam Pratibodha or Viditam Pratibodha, which is understood by you from whatever I have taught. May you also teach this to other deserving souls. Pratibodha, teach. So Swadhyaya Pravachana. That is the rules in the Vedas. If we learn something, no point in keeping it to ourselves and keeping it secret. It is our duty to actually teach to the deserving. We don't go to the streets and sell Keno Upanishad. We don't do that. The Vedas don't do it. They don't take a Talavakara Upanishad and sell on the street. No. But we teach and share the knowledge for the deserving. Viditam Pratibodha. So matam viditam. So that's the 2A and 2B, as I said. Where Chaturmukha is saying, as how I worked hard, I've contemplated and I have understood. Similarly, you can do it. Or once you have contemplated and understood, teach it to others. Teach it to the deserving. Yeah, is what he's saying by saying pratibodha viditam. There is another beautiful meaning of pratibodha, which we will open up for some interactive discussions. Pratibodha viditam. Pratibodha. Bodha means knowledge, awake. Yeah. Pratibodha means after you have slept only you are awake. If somebody is awake all the time, then there is no point in saying you are awake, because you are always awake all the time. Only when you are asleep and then you wake up, then you say, oh, you are awake now. Okay, so it makes sense to say somebody is awake only if somebody has been asleep before. Okay, so I hope that idea is coming across well from what Chaturmukha is saying. Pratibodha viditam, waking up from sleep. Okay, sleep. This is an important philosophy, yeah, and sleep. Even our Katha Upanishad, Yama also picks this up. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya, Varan, Nibodhata. Remember Bodha. Pratibodha, Nibodha, Nitaram Bodha. Prapya Varan Nibodhata. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nibodhata. Kshurasya Dhara, Nishita, Duratyaya, Durgam Pata. Tat Kavayo Vadanti. Amazing verse in Katha Upanishad, which we have done. So here Chaturmukha is telling, wake up from sleep, guys, wake up from sleep. Pratibodha, then you will know. Okay. So we will take up this verse 269 and we will have a think about what is that sleep that Krishna is talking about and this Upanishad is talking about. So we link Gita and Kena Upanishad in this verse with regards to this Nidra, sleep. Nisha, Nisha means sleep. Nidra means sleep. When we are asleep, we are ignorant. That is why ignorance is also called Nidra or Nisha. Yeah. So who wants to recite 269 and also give us some ideas about what the 269 is actually talking about? Neetaji, do you want to recite and then we open up?
Yes, sure. या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमी यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुनेः.
So any ideas, Neetaji, you want to share what is this verse actually talking about Nisha and Jagrati and some people are in Nisha, some people. So
Yeah, so,
any sharing of thoughts here?
like people or yogis who are Nisha, as you mentioned, as ignorance. So people who are aware or if they are ignorant, means they are awake, means that they are awake of the knowledge of Brahman. So it's not about day and night, but it's about awake or being aware of knowledge of Brahman. And they're not interested in mundane day-to-day life that we all do in daytime. So they're contemplating. So that is their day. Their day is be contemplating on Brahman. Whereas others, like all us, who are like thinking daytime for us, we are not aware of Brahman. We're just aware of our day-to-day things that we need or we want to do,
So
etc.
I think they prefer the quiet time so that they can contemplate well on Brahman rather than be in the busy time during the day. So they like a quiet time so that they can contemplate properly.
Can
Thanks,
I,
Neeta. Shushdut.
Madhuji, can I,
Yeah, go for it,
because I
Shailaji.
just
Yeah.
want to be sure whether I'm realizing it or not. I thought the realized, I mean, who are samyami or realized people, they know they are not the doers. They know Hari Karta, Naam Karta. So they will be doing everything, waking, sleeping, everything. But they know that God is doing everything through me. I thought
Of course,
that's the
Shailaji,
Nisha.
thank you.
Nisha is the ignorance. So the realized one, they know that Hari does everything. So,
Yeah,
but because everybody has to do whatever they have to do, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, wonderful, Shailaji. Agreed. So that that knowledge of I am a dependent doer, and there is the Antaryamin who is the Atma, who is my Swami and the controller. That knowledge is daylight for the Jnanins, and the absence of that knowledge is the nighttime for all the the mundane souls like us. Yeah, thank you very much, Neetaji, Shushrut, and Shilaji. If we don't have any other thoughts here at this point, I was going to pose another quiz, because the Jagrati, so the Jagrati means it's a state of consciousness, isn't it? The Jagrati, Nidra is a state of consciousness. So here we have done Mandukya Upanishad 4.5 years ago, I think. So my question is, so if that is the case, what are the 4 states of consciousness of souls that we have discussed in Mandukya Upanishad? Who wants to answer those question, please? Rapid fire quiz. 4 states.
Jagrati, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turiya.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Suresh ji. So, our Mandukya Upanishad that actually said, for jivas in samsara, there are 3 states of consciousness. Jagrati sthano bahihi prajnaha. The awareness of the external world is Jagrati sthana. Okay. Swapnasthano antaha prajnaha. So in dream state, we are just observing the activities of the mind, which we call as dreams. Swapnasthano antaha prajnaha. Then there is the deep sleep, Nisha. If you want to call Nisha sleep, Yatra Shuptaha, where that whole connection has been cut not only with the mind but also with the external world, and the jiva is in its own state. And we do go into that dreamless sleep every night. Yeah. So you have Jagrati Sthana Bahihi Prajnaha, Swapnasthano Antaha Prajnaha, Yatra Shuptaha, that Shuptasthana is another state. Okay. There are 3 states. Okay. So 269 is actually saying all 3 states are actually Nisha. They're actually sleep. They're all ignorant states. Yeah, that is the beauty of that. The Nisha there is not sleep, as Neetaji very nicely pointed out. Nisha there is ignorant state. Jagrati there is being aware, means what? Being knowledgeable. That is the Jagrati state that Veda Vyasa is talking about, which is what our Kena Upanishad is also talking about and defines that state as Pratibodha. Okay. So how is this possible? The 4th state, as Sureshji mentioned, is Turiya. This is Pratibodha in one sense, state of true wakefulness. So here is a question. How can this Jagrati Sthana, Bahihi Prajnaha, Swapna Sthanaha, Antaha Prajnaha, and Shupti Sthanaha can all actually be Nisha? They are all sleep states in one sense or the other. Yeah. How is that possible? And if we have understood this, then we have understood 269 and what our Chaturmukha Brahma is saying. So a rapid run through the various states. Yeah. So we have wakeful state, dream state, and dreamless state. And here we have our links with the external world. When the soul is in link with the external world, which sends the inputs through the sense organs, the brain receives the information, processes it, the mind then processes it further and offers it to Jiva, and the Jiva now says, I have become aware of what is happening in the external world. That is our wakeful state. Whereas the dream state is the connection between the brain and the sense organs is lost in the dream state. But the brain and the mind is still functioning, and the mind is still giving some inputs, some chemical reactions in the brain, what we call as dream, that is still being offered to the jiva, and the jiva is aware of this dreams that is going on in the dream state. Whereas in the dreamless state, even that connection is not there. That is, the connection between the material mind and the jiva is also not there, and the jiva is there on its own. It's a very fragile state for the jivas. We don't realize it, but it's a super fragile state. So that is the Shuptisthana. 4 states, 3 states. And then Mandukya said there is a 4th state when you are not in samsara at all. Okay, that is called Turiya state. And our Vedic system tells us about these various forms of the Vyuha forms of Narayana that controls this. Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudeva as Turiya. Okay. Aniruddha is Vaishwa form. Pradyumna is Tejasa form. Sankarshana is Prajna form. And Vasudeva is Turiya. So go back and Mandukya. It's a good situation to think about Mandukya. But essentially, in the wakeful state, we are actually still in sleep. Why? Because we have identified ourselves with these bodies, and we are ignorant of our dependence on Paramatma. We are not philosophically awake. So when you put these three, we are actually we are currently in a sleep state, even in our Jagrati Sthana, in the material world. And of course, identifying objects in dreams with the external world is the ignorance in the dream state. So we are still in sleep. We have still got ignorance in dream state. We got ignorance in the wakeful state. And of course, in the deep sleep, we are in total ignorance. Yeah. So our rishis, particularly Chaturmukha, is reminding us, don't be delusional. Even in your wakeful state, you are actually sleeping. Even in your dream state, you are sleeping. Even in your sushupti state, you are sleeping. That is the nisha that 269 of Gita is talking about. And our Chaturmukha says, if you wake yourself from these three states, this pratibodha. But until then, where are we? Avidyayam antare vartamanaha, swayam dhiraha, panditam manyamanaha, janganyamanaha, pariyanti mudaha, andenaiva niyamana yata andaha. We have done this in Mundaka Upanishad, we have done this in Katha Upanishad, there is of course Maitrayani Upanishad of Krishna Yajurveda that all talk about this very, very important verse. There are only slight differences. Janganyamanaha, Dhandramyamanaha in various Upanishads, but all others are. Here it is Vartamanaha, here it is Veshtyamanaha. So go and check that out. Basically, what it is telling is, we all of us are blind and we are all in a state of sleep, and we are following all these idiots who are also in a state of sleep and in ignorance and blindfolded, blind and dark, but we are all feeling very secure with this fence called avidya, fence called ignorance, and we are going about our lives. Every day, get up, do things, sleep, get up, sleep, get up, sleep, go around in circles, and eventually by doing this, we also go around in samsara. Okay. So the question really is, when are we really spiritually awake? That is the pratibodha that Chaturmukha Brahma is talking about. Pratibodha viditam matam. So beautiful sequence. You have to see it in a circle. Matam, Shravana, Manana and Dhyana. When you do these three, as we have discussed in Yajnavalkya's advice to Gargi, Atma va are drashtavyaha, when Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nitidhyasitavyaha. So when we have Shravana, Manana, Dhyana, continuously we are doing that and we are in deep dhyanas, then as Shilaji said, there might be a grace that might happen when we can get aparoksha jnana. That is the pratibodha. When we get aparoksha jnana, viditam, then you will understand that antaryamin as per your capacity. I don't know about whether I'll even be in the stage. None of us know here. But that is the sequence that our Chaturmukha gives in this beautiful set of words. Pratibodha viditam matam, that whole philosophy is summarized there as to what is the process. This, we are not going to achieve aparoksha jnana by just jumping around on the roads or somewhere else doing something and whatever we are doing on the roads, it's not going to happen. There is a process described in the Vedas. That is pratibodha viditam matam. If you reach this stage, aparoksha jnana, and you have understood, then what happens? Amrutatvam hi vidyate. Amrutatvam. You will reach a state of deathlessness, Sadashiva. If you reach aparoksha jnana, deathlessness is guaranteed for you. It is a well-known fact. Vindate, he gains. So he gains the state of deathlessness. Pratibodha viditam, when you reach aparoksha jnana, it is guaranteed. What? Amrutatvam hi vindate. So we'll do a rapid quiz here. State of deathlessness. When do we not die? So who is going to answer this? When do we not die? When we are not born. If you are born, you will have to die. So the only solution of deathlessness means is not to be born in the first place. So next question, when are we not born? Who is going to answer that question? So this is important. When are we not born?
When we attain moksha.
Okay, but before that, Padmajaji, moksha is very far
You
away.
have to lose Linga Sharira.
Linga Sharira and
Before Linga Sharira, what should happen?
Viraja
reach
Nadi.
the
Virija Nadi
Viraja
we have
Satyaloka.
to
Nadi has
cross.
to
Before Viraja Nadi, what needs to happen?
Get to
Aparoksha
Satyaloka.
Get to
Aparoksha Jnana.
Satyaloka with Brahma.
before Satyaloka. To get to
Aparoksha Jnana.
Satyaloka, what needs to happen?
Aparoksha
Aparoksha
Jnana.
Aparoksha Jnana.
What happens at Aparoksha Jnana that we are never born again?
We lose our karmic.
Parmachadi.
Absolutely. So Ajit got spot on. When no karmic imprints are on Linga Sharira. Okay. So if we don't, that is the first set. We should not have karmic imprints. Until we have karmic imprints, we will be born as whatever. So we should not have karmic imprints on the Linga Sharira is the first criteria. Next question. When is our karmic imprints destroyed? Who is going to
When
answer?
we finish
When we do
Prarabdha
samarpana
karma.
to God, when we don't take on the
When Aniruddha Sharira is gone, Avaga.
Okay,
with God's
so thank you,
grace.
Shobha ji. Panaga ji, what did you please?
when we do complete samarpana to God, we don't take on the fruits of what we have done.
Very nice, thank
When-
you.
Nishkama karma.
This is same
Nishkama karma.
Harnam Karta, Hari Karta. So then Hari does everything, no karma there. That's what Madhuji has been teaching, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, Sheila ji.
When-
And
when
anybody else? Somebody else?
God's grace.
So, Madhuji,
Grace,
there will
everybody
be
says grace. Shishru ji, yeah, go for it.
so there will be two karmas, isn't it? Prarabdha karma and Sanchita karma. So Sanchita karma will be destroyed after you have Aproksha Jnana, but Prarabdha karma you have to get rid of by being born and fulfilling them.
Absolutely the right answer, Sushru ji. Thank you very much. Aparoksha jnana. So if you don't have pratibodha, you'll be stuck in this. That is why this aparoksha jnana, according to Vedas, is such an important stage, because until aparoksha jnana, there is no karmakshaya. Of course, we need God's grace to have that aparoksha jnana, and the promise that the Lord gives you is, when I show myself to you, I will also erase all your karmic imprints that have been deposited on your linga sharira. But the prarabdha karma, you will have to finish it. Okay, whatever that is now coming to fruition, you will have to finish it. But you will not accumulate any future karmas. Or whatever you have it in your bag, that will all be eliminated. So that is why aparoksha jnana is important. When you have aparoksha jnana, moksha is guaranteed. And there is no return to samsara. And you don't have birth and rebirth. Okay, so this is the sequence that our when we look at pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate, it gives you the sequence of what needs to happen for us to strive for this great position of aparoksha jnana. How to achieve aparoksha jnana liberation? Is it achievable? That is what is the journey of souls is all about. That is what Vedas have set out to give us instruction how to approach, how to reach aparoksha jnana and liberation. Okay, this we have done this. This samsara is an examination, and we have to pass this examination and do what? If you pass this examination, you get a degree. What qualification do you get? You get a state of aparoksha jnana, and then you progress further. And what happens? You will never come back again. You will reach deathlessness. This amrutatvam happens, and you will never ever have this birth and rebirth again. Brahmalokam abhisampadyate nacha punaravartate nacha punaravartate. Chandogya Upanishad. Beautiful statement of what Brahmaloka, and one of our satsangi said Satyaloka. Satyaloka is Brahmaloka, and from there you go to our Brahman's Loka, which is Vaikunta. So that is Brahmaloka, and then Nacha Punaravartate, Nacha Punaravartate. You never return. Anavrittihi Shabdat, Anavrittihi Shabdat. The last sutra, Brahma Sutra, is you never come back. And of course, we discussed very beautifully of all the Viraja Nadi and Vaitharani. So here is a quick case. Who is going to have a dip in Vaitharani river? As far as I know, there is only one person who will definitely have the dip in Vaitharani and go to Andhatamas. Who is that guy?
Duryodhana.
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 Duryodhana. He is one guy who will dip in Vaitharani and go to Andhatamas. Probably we will all go to Virajanad. So again, this is where this grace comes in, and of course Sheila ji spoke about it quite a lot today, and Shrikant ji also explained this in the previous satsang, as that the divine grace is absolutely required. And for divine grace, what we should do? We have to start knowing him. He can be known only through the Vedas, but that too you can only know to some extent. That limitation also you should know. You should not get into the ego that I know so much of Veda, I know so much about Brahman. No, we don't know anything, should be the starting point. And then at some point that grace will happen and we may reach Aparoksha Jnana. Okay, so here is another beautiful thingy. The next line says, Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amrutam. So here is important. How do you reach that Aparoksha Jnana state? Atmana vindate. Vindate means gains, obtains. Viryam means what? Strength. What strength? Adhyatma sadhanas. The strength of Adhyatma sadhana. How do you attain this? Atmana. So that opens up in many ways. Atmana, self-effort. Atmana, as per our swabhava, as per our self-capacity, we put in the self-effort. Atmana, by the grace of Atma. Who is Atma? Narayana Sukta of Mahanarayana Upanishad. Atma Narayanaha Paraha. Atma is Narayana, Vishnu. Without his grace, none of this is going to happen. The whole doctrine of Jiva Kartrutva is described in this very beautiful word, Atmana Vindate Viryam. And of course, that Atman in the Upanishads we have done can mean so many things, isn't it? Body, mind, Jiva, God. But primarily in the Upanishad is Paramatma. Okay? But it can also mean the self effort or as per self's capacity. Depends on the context in which you take. So Atmana Vindate Viryam. And then what happens? Vidyaya Vindate Amrutam. What is that Vidya there? That Vidya there is Aparoksha Jnana. When you get that Vidya, that the Aparoksha Jnana, that is the direct knowledge of Paramatma, when you see him, you will attain Amrutam. So that grace and self-effort, everything comes in very, very beautifully. So we have 10 minutes. I think we should finish the 5th verse and close this kanda because it's very much related to it. Okay? So this is the process. Pratibodha vititam matam amrutatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amrutam. So when should we put in this effort, self-effort, as per our capacity, of course with the grace of the Lord, but self-effort, self-effort. When should we put this self-effort? Purushakya prayatna. When should we do this? Do we postpone this? Chaturmukha says, Iha ched avedit ata satyam asti. Nachediha avedit mahati vinashtihi. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretya asmad lokad amruta bhavati. Okay. Iha ched avedit. Iha ched. Right now is what Chaturmukha is saying, Sadashiva. Right now, may do it. When you have this human body, do it. Then Avedit is able to comprehend, gain the knowledge of Brahman, try to make an effort to gain the knowledge of Brahman right now. Exactly what Katha Upanishad also says. Iha ched ashakat bodhum prak sharirasya visrasaha. Tataka sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. Exactly the same. Iha ched avedit ata satyam asti. Okay, this one is in Virat Jagati, or you could also say Swarat Trishtu. So we should think about Sachi, consort of Indra, and all the devatas of all the chandas for this particular verse, which is very, very important verse. Right now, when you have this human body, make an effort to comprehend and gain the knowledge of Brahman. Here is our question before we close in the next 10 minutes. Why do we have to do sadhana when we have this human body? Why not wait for future births? Postpone our sadhana. Have fun now. Why wait when you are 20 or 30? Why don't we do it when we are retired and when we are old, because we are very busy, making money and running samsara, having a career and so on. So why can't we just postpone things? Why not wait for future births and postpone our sadhana and have fun now? What is the urgency?
Yeah, Madhu, we don't know where we'll be born, how we'll be born with diseases. Same thing with old age, whether we'll be alive, stroke, dementia, many things. So just today is the best day.
Wonderful answer, Sudarshan. Thank you very much. So Sudarshan got this spot on because in Chandogya Upanishad we have done this. Yeah. Taiha Vyagrova, Simhova, Vrukova, Varahova, Kitova, Patangova, Dhamshova, Mashakova, Yadyad Vadanti Taddada, Tattada Bhavanti. Nobody knows what bag of karma that we've got in our linga sharira. We might be born as mosquito or worm or whatever it is in the next birth. We may be born as such nasty creatures and we may not be able to do our sadhanas. So when you have this human body, do it now. We don't know whether we are going to be alive tomorrow or not. Do now. Krishna said, if you do now something, you will pick it up where you left in your next birth. Yeah, do now, do now. Iha ched. Very clear, firm advice. Iha ched avedit. Ata satyam asti. And that satyam is very important. We may very briefly go through the satyam, but we are all experts in satyam. And in our colloquial language, we also do satyam. Satyama, satyavagi. Satyavagi we say, right? We stress something. So I promise you this, that this will happen. Okay? So that is one way in which Chaturmukha is saying, Ata Satyam Asti, I am promising you this. Okay? What is that? After Aparoksha Jnana, after all the karmas are shed, including Prarabdha karmas are exhausted, after the body is shed, then Satyam Asti. There is that state of deathlessness. I promise you that. It would be 100% beneficial to such a person, a promise, a real success, a joy, a bliss. Satyaha, Satyamasti. Okay. And of course, today we were doing this verse 1726, Sadbhave, Sadhubhave cha, Saditi etat prayujyate, Prashaste karmani tata satchabdaha partha yujyate. Go and check that out. That is Satyamasti. I promise you, Chaturmukha does. Yeah, he lives in Satyaloka and he is promising Sadashiva, Satyamasti. And of course, the Satyam is there where Satyamasti is in Vakya and he is called Satyam. And we know everything about Satyam already. And I don't want to go through these details of Satyam, but I've just put this for our own contemplation. Who is the Satyam of Upanishad? Satyam is Vishnu, Narayana. Satyam is the one who is Satchit Ananda. He is Satyam. The one who controls the liberated and unliberated. He is Satyam. Satyam talks about the eightfold cosmic dispensation of the universe by Vishnu. So Vishnu is Satyam equals Krishna equals infinite names of Brahman. Bhagavatam says Satyam Param Dhimahi and of course various Upanishads talk about it and I've given you the reference. Nachediha avedit mahati vinastihi. Iha, right now when you have this human body, na avedit chet. Na, not able to comprehend, not gain the knowledge of Brahman. If it is not understood, then Chaturmukha says, guys, mahati vinashti. It's a very big loss for us. We have wasted our lives. We have wasted our sadhana sharira. It's a complete loss for us. There are so many losses. There are some people who are the haters of Brahman. There are haters of God. The atheists of this world, the haters of God. What is their vinashti? Where is their loss? The terrible place. They go to eternal hells. And then there are the ones who are indifferent. Okay, currently I'm in samsara enjoying myself. Let me postpone and everything else. The temporary apathy that delays liberation, which is still a loss because we want to get there as soon as we can. And then there are the groups that are the eternal mortality, the Nitya Samsarins, who just permanently they have an indifference to God. They are not haters, but they have an indifference or an apathy to God. Yeah. In 1620, anybody wants to give us the 1620 quickly? Panagaji, do you want to recite that?
Okay. Asurim yonimapanna moodha janmani janmani mama prapyaiva kaunteya tato yantyadhamam gatim.
Thank you very much, Panagaji. So the 16th chapter gives you what happens if you ignore Paramatma. You go to really adamam gatim, very low stage. So that is what he is saying here. Iha ched avedit, you got scope, satyam asti. Nachediha avedit mahati vinashti. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretya asmat lokad amruta bhavati. Very, very, very interesting way of finishing this khanda by Chaturmukha Brahma. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya. He has used bhuteshu twice. Bhuteshu bhuteshu to stress something. If you do see twice something is being repeated, either it is closing a particular section or to stress a point. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya. Bhuteshu. It is in the Saptami Vibhakti. In Jivas, Vichitya, search. Search within yourself is what is search. Realizing that Antaryamin. Inside Jivas means what? There is a Jiva and there is the Paramatma. If I am inside the house, I don't become one with the house. There is the house, there is the me entering into the house. Similarly, this Brahman is inside his house, which is the Jiva. And this guy is the Antaryamin and we are the Pratibimbas, he is the Bimbas. Search for him inside you. Bhuteshu Vichitya. No point searching for him outside. You have to search for him inside. Is what Chaturmukha is saying. Bhuteshu Vichitya. That person who searches and knows is the real Dhiraha. Dhiya Ramateti Dhiraha. The one who understands this fundamental truth, the knowledge, the brave. What is the ultimate benefit for him? Pretya asmad lokad amruta bhavati. The same thing that Chaturmukha said in the very first Kanda, 1-2. Shrotrasya shrotram manasa mano yadvachaha vachyam savupranasya pranaha chakshushas chakshuhu atimuchya dhiraha bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretyasmad lokad amruta bhavati pretyasmad loka amruta bhavati. He said this twice again, saying that there is a great benefit for us. What is that? Pretya, we climb up, liberated. Pretyasmad lokad, getting rid of samsara, ignorance, bonds of karma, getting rid of body, linga sharira. There are so many meanings of this. And then he reaches amruta bhavati. He reaches that state of liberation. Anavrittir shabdad iti. So that is what Chaturukama Brahma in this verse. Iha ched avedit atasatyam asti. Nachediha avedit mahati vinashtihi. Bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretya asman lokad amruta bhavanti. You will reach liberation. So that is how he finished. Iti keno Upanishadi dvitiya khandaha. So we have now successfully completed the second Kanda on a very high note of Chaturmukha actually promising us, provided we start now that journey to know that Paramatma, who he is as per our capacity. He is our Antaryamin. He is the independent controller. He controls every damn thing in the material universe and also in your Pindanda. So we have to get that into that. So now here is an interesting bit. So far, what Chaturmukha has done is he's given the theoretical aspect of it. He has given lot of theoretical. He's given us the knowledge base. Okay. In the third and the fourth Kanda, which is again quite a smooth transition with all the background that we have, the third and the fourth Kanda should be fairly straightforward because he is now going to take up a practical situation and he is going to give a situation that happened in the previous Brahma Kalpa, not in this current Chaturmukha Brahma. So this Chaturmukha Brahma is teaching Sadashiva, right? So this Chaturmukha Brahma goes back to the previous Chaturmukha Brahma's Kalpa and he picks up an incident and then he talks and gives an illustration of the theory that he has discussed so far. Tritiya Kandaha. And it is in Gadya form, it is in prose. So we don't have various chandas here, it's all in prose form, but it takes up a situation where various devatas come in this incident. Chaturmukha, Shiva of previous Brahmakalpa, Parvati of previous Brahmakalpa, Indra, Pravahavayu, Agni, they all now come. There is a situation that happened in the previous Brahmakalpa that Chaturmukha of this kalpa, which is Shvetavaraha kalpa, this Shvetavaraha kalpe, Dvitiya parade, Vaivashvatamanvantare, as we were discussing yesterday. So this Chaturmukha Brahma talks about of an incident with a yaksha, where now Parvati takes a big role. Parvati and Indra. There will be a conversation between Parvati and Indra about Yaksha, about Vishnu, and all that. So it's very, very beautiful, beautiful incident that actually gives deep philosophies besides a very interesting storyline. Okay, so we will pick this up when we get to the next session. So I'm going to close today and say Krishna Pranamastu. Thanks for a very interactive session and lots of ideas that have come in from all of us today. So if there are any questions, we can take it up now. Excellent. So looks like we have no questions. So in that case, a brief announcement. So next week we have Gita Chintana. Anandji will take us through the next chapter. So look forward to part A, B, and C. Part B, I think we are doing next chapter. Yes, Anandji is not there today to tell us about it. So we'll do the Gita Chintana next week. And also we are doing Gita Chintana the following week with an expert commentary on the chapter, and we close that particular chapter. And then I will come back and pick up on the third Kanda, which talks about all these interesting Abhimani Devatas and their interactions in a fortnight's time. Okay, so can I ask, let's take Sushruji to recite Om, and we close today's session. Thank you very much, Sushruji, and thanks everyone. Stay safe, take care. See you for Gita Chintana next week. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.